Welcome back. This is Newsfile, it's your most authoritative news analysis show. And share with you a couple of your messages, and then we check on the free SHS and the major reason that Dr. Educhum is here this morning. And you see he has quite brief answers to all the issues that are raised, very straight to the point about them. Let's see if you do the same with the free SHS matters.
You must be kidding me. Yeah. Gotta be kidding me.
Okay, so JB in Islam says, are our MPs above the law? It looks like that's what is taking a lot of the attention. Are our MPs above the law? Either Rambo style search or Jackie Chan style search. We want our Ameri stolen money back. Speak for myself. Newton from Mankraso says the recent cabal of raid of former government appointees' homes is needless and must be condemned. In any case, if JJ has any documents relating to the Ameri deal, he would have hidden it after his former boss was raided. Evans John Atta Mills Asamoah says, I thought Gitmo 2 issue will also be on the radar to expose the NPP's inconsistency and lies. Atta JB Patrick says, free SHS is a good policy and this will go a long way to help financially handicapped parents to take their children. When we say parents, I think the proper English is to say children and guardians as to wards, but it looks like we are familiar with saying parents, wards, rather than guardians and their wards. Okay, to second cycle institution. In much as it is a good policy, government must also take measures to ensure quality as well. AU Farouk Tamale says that did the NPP government promise us to offer free education to only brilliant students? Okay, he will answer that question. Why the U10 now? Double standards at the highest. And Raphael Kuma Absalom says, if the petition had not been tabled by the faceless petitioners, be careful what you say, they are not faceless. 17 petitioners, and now we have 2 more, so you have a total of 18 petitioners, except that this time you have 1 petitioner petitioning about 2 people. Petitioners, would the EC chair have come out with all these allegations or wrought against her deputies? Okay, so she gave her response to what she was alleged to have done. Luther King Martin says that, I believe the police approach to obtain information was just right, but for the timing. And on the issue of they came with guns, what should they have come with? Rose flowers? I mean, white or red? Nana Hesse Ojri says that, first of all, he's sending from Danceman. He says, first of all, Samson, was it a raid? After listening to an interview with the police on TV, they said it was a cordial search, and therefore they sought the permission from the speaker, and this is coming from the police. Oh, I see. They sought permission. Well, as for whether it was a raid or not, you heard Dr. Kwabena Donko on the...
They sought permission. The speaker would inform them.
Exactly. You heard Dr. Kwabena Donko here on this show. He said it was very cordial and there was nothing really bad about it. Now, Kweku also says that from what the MPs are seeking, he finds that MPs can only be investigated when they are dead. Interesting.
It's a good one.
No, not exactly. MPs have been tried, have been investigated, prosecuted, and convicted.
No, no, I understand him to say that given the cloak, then it is only...
Okay. Right. Now, let's go to free SHS. And Dr. Matthew Kuku-Prempeh, who is the Minister of Education, is so excited and said with a lot of confidence and boldness this week as he met the press that free HSS is happening this September. just repeating what Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo has been saying with a lot of pride. But the question that are coming up is this what you promised? And what exactly did the NPP promise about free SHS? And let me read your manifesto. I'm reading page 107. Secondary Technical and Vocational Education, free SHS. The NPP will redefine basic education to include senior high school, SHS, covering vocational, agricultural and technical schools, and make it available for free on a universal basis to all Ghanaians. Question, is that what you are implementing?
Thank you for the opportunity to answer these questions that are coming up. We know that the 1992 Constitution made provision for secondary education in its different forms, including technical and vocational education, to be made generally available and accessible to by every appropriate means, and in particular by the progressive introduction of education. So you're going to hear about the progressively free policy, and I think you alluded to it at the beginning of this discussion. You know,
that's what the NDC is holding trademark to.
Yeah, so we'll come to that. And the 2008 and 2012 manifesto of the NPP articulated the free senior high school, and then we went on to talk about it in the 2016. You see, in 2014, in the State of the Nation address by His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, he embraced the free senior high school concept and say, hey, we need to have free secondary education. However, it's going to be progressively free. So certain ideas was brought to the table as to the amount of money to be spent and how they were going to roll it out, talking about how these students were going to be relieved of some of the burdens. So there was some subsidies that were established to reduce the cost. And not to make it free as such, but at least to shoulder parents and help reduce the cost of education, how much the parents was paying. So
what's the difference in that and what you are doing now?
Very good. Now, the difference in that was that you were given a discount. See, so there's a difference between getting a discount at the store and going there and saying, this is free, take it home, it's free. So that was a discount. We are talking about free. Free means I can take this away and I don't have to pay. So what we are saying with the free senior high school is that students are not going to have to pay a number of expenses. But before we even get to that,
only for 3 years. If you fail, and you don't progress.
Before we get there, before we get there, I know you are in a rush to get to that destination, but before we get there, let's look at the history. The last 4 years, the number of students who were placed in schools who could not go to those schools primarily because of for financial reasons.
You mean admission trends?
Yeah. For example, in 2013, 391,000 students took the BECE. 352,000 were placed in schools across the country. And the total that enrolled was 261,000. 25.7% could not go. 25.7%. Just last year, 2016, 461,000 students took the BECE. Out of that, 420,000 were placed in various schools, and only 308,799 could go. 111,336, which represent 26.5%, were not able to enroll in schools across the country. And people will say maybe the other reasons were, but if you look at the figures for the North, students from the, in fact, if you segregate the figures just for the South, the percentage is much higher, it's over 30%. If you look at the data from the North, for example, in 2013-14, only 8.4% of students who were placed did not go, compared to over 30% for students in the South. So it tells you that there's a real barrier that needs to be removed to provide opportunity for all young men and women to have senior high school education and technical education and vocational education, and really to create something that I believe is a game changer in this country.
So, the starting point.
The starting point
by your constitution, your
yes.
Manifesto, is to redefine basic education to include senior high school. What's changed?
Now, what we are saying, there are two things here. Redefining is saying that everybody should have access, right? That senior high school is part of what we deem basic education. If you define
so that there's a natural, seamless progression.
Yes, so there's going to be seamless progression. If you look at this number of students who were not placed, and I really want to commend the NDC for the fact that the NDC reset, right? There's a certain number of students who were not placed. Those students can do reset. No, they were not placed because you restricted them. They obtained some very poor grades, which will not allow for them to fully participate in secondary technical vocational education process. You make a provision for them to reset, come back, and then participate. So you are not restricting them. We are not talking about any cutoff here. We are not saying, hey, if you have this, you cannot proceed. We are just saying that the 111,000 that could not go last year, this year we project it to be over 120,000 that if it had not been for the free senior high school could not go. 120,000 more students are going to attend senior high schools this year because of this policy. We are completely removing the financial barrier and saying to students that if you're going to boarding school, all the fees have been taken care of, including your admission fees, including 2 pairs of school uniform, including the school cloth, entertainment fees, taking SRC.
The only thing you will not pay is PTA.
Even the PTA. So there are 2 parts to the PTA. There's a portion that the schools made us aware that is paid to teachers to really
teacher motivation.
20 cedis a year per student. So we decided that that needs to be taken care of by the government, so that it doesn't appear as if what really motivates teachers to do their work, we're taking it away.
Oh, I see.
So teacher motivation will be paid. However, since the government is taking care of all they have development levy and which parents were paying for improvement in schools, all that is going to be taken care of. So what we are saying is this: after we take out the teacher motivation and take out the development levy, do not levy any parent. If you levy a parent, says from the PTA, it's not mandatory.
Okay.
The parent should not be forced to pay. The kid should not be sent home because they did not pay this non-mandatory part of the PTA dues, because we think we've taken care of some essential elements of what needs to be paid, and we're going to pay that to the schools. So this is free, and not progressively free. This is comprehensively free. And we also understand that there has been arguments about quality. So we are not going into this process without looking at the issues of quality. So we are looking at issues of quality from different fronts. The lowest performing schools in this country, in the senior high school level, you'll be amazed to know that there are a number of schools that put 0% on WASI. The trend has been that only 70% of students who sit for the WASI obtain the credits that enable them to move up to any tertiary institution. So to me, there's a 70% failure rate on the WASI. Schools in this country are failing across the board. And what the NDC did in the previous government did was that they contracted a loan with the World Bank under the Secondary Education Improvement Project. And the focus of the loan was to ensure that we can improve quality of schools. Some construction money came out of that, which was used in building some schools, about 23 of them. And a large amount of the money was supposed to be used for the improvement of the quality. And that is where the implementation, to me, was not done in such a way that you could really improve quality. Because you cannot say that you want to improve quality of learning in the schools, but you have a situation where no provision was made for intervention, which means that when a student fails a class, nobody talks to him. You see, and that's one unfortunate aspect of secondary education in Ghana, that you can go to school, first term, you fail, second term, you fail, third term, you fail. You don't have to make up the class. You are not called by the counselor to say that, hey, this class needs to be made up. And unfortunately, when you are going to the university, they don't look at transcripts of your academic record. So all that they need the WASI, right? So you can literally fail your English three terms, and nobody calls you to account and say, hey, you have to make up this class.
Why?
So Yeah, that's the system. That's what we want to change. It has been there for generations that we don't make up classes. We don't make up classes. So you fail the class, and the university is not asking you for your record of academic transcript when they are enrolling you. So that is why the WASSCE become a do or die affair with all these leakages, because you can literally fail all your classes and end up in the university if you find a way to pass your WASSCE. And as a result, we have schools that are failing because headmasters do not even know whether their first year group is doing well. They wait till the final year and they take the WASSCE and fail.
What do you say to, people within your own government and who are people that are taking rather very seriously? They are not known to just be engaging in, politics and cheap talk. Say that you are a bit in a hurry, that you're going to do this beginning, go on this onslaught from September. That you should take it easy. You have also added an additional bedding to the feeding. You're saying those in the day school will have one hot meal every day. You're going to employ caterers to take care of all of that. The small portion of just, those on government scholarship, you are unable to do that. Charles is complaining all the time.
It's a very good question, and those are legitimate concerns. But I just want to say I respectfully disagree with those respected individuals who are coming out to say we're in a hurry. It's not about being in a hurry. I wish those individuals would just call us and say, can you guys brief me? I mean, they are respected people within our party and within our structures. They can call the minister anytime. I would love to go and brief them. Preparations have been made. A lot of work has been done. So when people get to them and say, you are not ready, unfortunately, they don't even call us and say that, can you guys brief me on what you've done? Do you think we are capable of doing this? So maybe after the briefing, especially those within our party, after the briefing, then we can say, hey, this is not good. We're going to say something. Then I get it. But the kind of work that has been done in the ministry, the consultations that we've done with headmasters, we've met with matrons, every section of employees at the secondary school level has been met with, including unions. We've deliberated, we look at options. We've asked principals to declare vacancies, boarding day at their schools. We've gone there with teams to check the spaces to make sure we have spaces available for enrollment of these students. We look at quality issues. My brother, a lot of work has gone into this, okay. and we are not oblivious of the fact that there are challenges.
Okay, so hold it briefly. And Imani Africa, you originally didn't have a position that endorsed wholeheartedly this program. Mm-hmm. Suddenly we're hearing you say, well, we believe in this. It looks like it's going to happen.
We believe in education. We believe in quality education. We do not believe that free education is always quality education. Indeed, the experience is that usually free education is almost no use at all. So way back when this was declared, we dove into it and we were able to determine that there needed to be a bit more work on it. So let it be clear. We are not against free quality education. Our constitution says we must get there progressively. We actually have ideas for doing that. We believe that Ghana spending all this money on education is not getting what we should get out of it. And the part of the problem, why I was asking, if you say the system is not good and change it, the GS is in charge of education in this country. It has failed for decades. And we are putting more money behind the failed system. We need to re-engineer that whole approach. So, our resistance to free SHS was simply to say, think through it more, give us a credible plan that on paper at least will work.
Now you've seen a credible plan.
We have seen something that has the potential to work. Okay, now.
You're still hedging. What's going on?
Because it's not perfect. But the point we need to make is that perfect is the enemy of good enough. Mm-hmm. And even in creation, if God is perfect, but none of his creations are perfect. Even angels had Lucifer.
What are the specifics that we are looking at that they should tone down on, or you want to be convinced it's going to work right?
I'm taking notes.
Well, we have a whole document on it, so we can't do this here, and I don't know even where to start. But the point is, it will start. Okay,
Kuku says he has ceded the rest of the time to you only. We have very limited time. We'll take a quick break and we'll return to continue. But let's go through them.
It will start, and we are happy it will start. In fact, it is interesting that they are saying that now it will start with only the first year students, because we wondered how we're going to fund everything for everybody going straight. And we think the present structures are weak and they may not be able to support this. The simple issue of passing money, even if you had the money, the throughput, the channel, the pipe through which you pass the money, if it's textbooks and whatever it is. Now, like he said, sometimes we get snippets of information that a lot of work is going on. Our biggest worry in all of this is that even though we are watching very carefully, we have not seen a coherent plan put out. He said some people were complaining and they don't call them. Which number should I call? Okay, and trust me,
no, I don't really mean you.
I know.
He's speaking directly to those in the party.
Oh, in your party. High level.
If you have a policy guideline, guys, everybody.
And I've been on this thing, and I call my friends, and everybody has a piece of information. This is the biggest promise of the MPP. You've had many years to deal with it. I think there must be a paper on this that is spelling that. Even that paper won't be perfect, but at least then those of us who are looking for more information will not have to be calling you and getting pieces of information. And it gives the whole country, especially patients and students, a bit of assurance as to how things are going to, work out. So it will happen, and we are happy with it. Let me tell you this. We think you are going to have big problems. We are not sure where they will come from. But the problems are mostly because of the weaknesses in the system, which you have not sufficiently strengthened. So this is not just the end, but it's the start. We think that there should be a team that is focused on free SHS and will do quick interventions when something happens.
I'm hearing you say a lot of general stuff. I wanted you to zoom into a bit of some of the specifics that you find at Imani are the challenges that you want to preempt or alert government about. We'll take a quick break, return to finish up on this discussion. My guests have been Abdul Malik Kubako, editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper, and Kubako getting ready to take his normal leave and won't be coming on the show for just a short while. As you know, I don't know why he plans his leave to coincide with the legal vacation. The legal vacation for lawyers also just started this Friday. Interesting, yeah.
No, Friday. I think we are Monday.
No,
Monday will be 31st.
Monday people will go to court. How many people are going to court on Monday?
Won't you?
I'm not. Okay. Now, Kofi has a list to present to you quickly. He will just go to the list and you respond to them with all the background that you have from managing schools in America that you want to, implant here in Ghana. How are you going to navigate that path? And then he will come in. Yes, Kofi.
One. You're using public money to support secondary education. Those who don't pass from JHS to SHS are a big problem. And indeed, they happen to be the poor who need help. We need to find out what will happen to people who don't pass JHS, who are not going to go into SHS. Then when you go into those who pass into SHS, now, there are those who go to the grade C, D, E schools, which tend to be the needier schools. Okay? We need to find out, and especially those schools tend to also be day schools. Okay, there's already an inequity in how much you're giving to boarding schools and how much is going to those day schools. So we need to find out what you're going to do about that. And are you ready to deal with vocational and technical? That is the bigger problem in education in this country, both access and quality. So
okay,
you could
so you hold on there and begin with how you are not going to plunge us in a similar situation as payment of NHIS claims. How are you going to be making the payments quickly enough?
I think one of the things that have hampered speedy disbursements of funds is the fact that even in this time, in the history of the world, 21st century of computers and networks and everything, people are handling some of these things sometimes by moving paper and pencil from point A to B. So what we have done now is that we established a student information system. There's a portal that you go to and you can look at all the students that have enrolled in the school. We are using biodata from WIEC to make sure we can go to a school and verify by using biometric purposes the students who are enrolled in that school. So a headmaster will go to a website enter the password together with the ICT support person that they have, and they will be able to know all the students that have been sent to him or her. And from there, there's a process for ensuring that they check to see that this student has enrolled, this student has enrolled, this student has enrolled. So with that done, there's also a dashboard at the national level where we log in and we'll be able to know the student that are enrolled in each one of those schools. And in fact, to avoid a situation where people say we don't have internet access, we are sending laptop modems, 2 of them, to every school so that there will be no excuse that I don't have internet and therefore I cannot do this. So we want to make sure that there's transparency and we prevent leakages. We don't have a situation where people will enroll or add more to the list.
That ghost names.
Ghost names, because you give us
very good at that in Ghana, you know.
I know that. So you give us the seats, we give you exactly that number, we come to verify because we have biodata. So all that we are saying is this: we are looking at ways that will make it easier for schools to receive their money.
Right.
But in addition to that, we're also looking at giving them an advance payment before school begins.
Oh,
so
advance
payment.
Yes.
Okay. So they have some
Great.
money. They have some money to begin their operations.
Right. The other 2 issues he raised, quickly, just brief responses.
Yeah, the other 2 issues were the reset, those who don't pass. I mean, there are 2 big deals here. The fact that there is no prescribed intervention in our schools today is disheartening. It's so bad. It's a system that needs to be put in place. You don't allow a student to fail as if you don't care. So you can fail your English.
What's the solution?
No, solution is that we are prescribing intervention. There should be intervention classes. You don't allow students to fail without any intervention. So you can literally sit there and fail your term 1 English class, term 2 English class, and there's no what we call intercession. Intercession is when you fail your term 1. So whilst you're in term 2 after school, there's support for you to make up your term 1. Those are things that we're able to do through the SIP schools. You see, the SIP schools are the lowest performing schools. They are the needier schools that you are talking about. Right. Fortunately, we have funding from the World Bank to support them.
Okay.
So
and
we want to streamline
the
technical vocational aspect of it. The cabinet has approved an initiative to bring on the over 200 schools that are spread across 15 ministries to the Ministry of Education. So all your ISS schools, the MVTI schools, every one of them is coming to the Ministry of Education. And when they come there, they are not going to GES. There's going to be a new agency that will handle at those schools.
Interesting.
From September?
Interesting.
No, not from September. I won't say from September.
Okay.
But what I'm saying that the process, the committee that has worked, they have recommended the streamlining. Okay. We are working on.
Thank you. Hold it there. Very fantastic ideas there and plans that are being rolled out. But so clearly, this is not the progressively free SHS that you want us to believe they are continuing.
Why? It is.
Because they are absorbing all fees.
No, the progressively free, it's not about the nature of the fees. Because they brought an alternative policy, and you read it, that free education for all. And in fact, what hoodwinked the people was that they were going to bridge the gap and consider basic education, that the exit, when you enter nursery, the exit will be SS3.
Right.
All right? And it caught up with a lot of people. Because you see, right now, the basic requirement for any form of job employment at all is SS. So, if you exit a GSS, if half of the people are not entering SS, we are pouring about 200,000 adolescents onto our streets. So people bought into their policy that if these were the things they were coming to introduce, then it was better than the NDC's option of progressively free. Now they have come. They just have come to introduce a progressively free policy.
No.
In fact, the policy is operating as a scholarship scheme because it is not wholesome. Why would you introduce...
What is left to be paid?
Hold on.
What is left to be paid?
Hold on. The policy they are operating is operating like a scholarship. You must meet a certain standard in order... Hold on.
No, it's not true.
You must... Hold on.
You don't have to meet any certain standard.
You must pass your BEC, 6 credits, 36.
No, it's not true.
Why?
It's not true.
Which school...
It's not true.
Hold on.
It's
Which
not
school
true.
will admit you if you don't have 6 credits?
It's not true.
Let him hear him.
It's
He
not
says
true.
it's not true.
It's not, because what I want to avoid is a situation where a child is placed in a school and his 6 women say, I got 36, and because somebody is saying, I cannot go, I'm not going. When you are placed...
There's no cutoff.
No, because what we've said is this. NDC introduced...
Those who are placed will get a scholarship.
Yes.
Will get free SHS.
Yes.
Only 80% are placed.
No, it's going to be higher than that. It's going to be higher than that.
Okay, so
let me finish. So I
and
speak of policy contradictions, indeed, because they are simply running
right
policy.
Right.
It's a scholarship scheme.
Yes,
it's a scholarship scheme other than a free SHS policy.
And I want parents to be well
and like
informed.
Fuku is saying, production is giving me a signal
Yes.
that we may need to take a special treatment for this particular
Yes.
subject
Yes.
because
Yes.
it's very, very
agree.
important.
Yes.
The critical questions are coming up at this point, and the answers must be hard.
Parents need to know.
And thank you, Abdul Malik Kukuba, co-editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper. Kofi Bentil is lawyer and vice president Imani Africa. Also, Dr. Yao Osei Educhum is Deputy Minister of Education in charge of SHS and TVET, and is MP for Bosumtwe. Roxanne Nelson Dafiamapo is Member of Parliament for South Dai, and he's also a lawyer. On the phone, we spoke to Kwame Akufo. I'm Samson Ladi Anyani. Thank you very much for staying with us, and don't forget to be part of the commemoration processes of the crusade against human trafficking by the Women and Gender Ministry. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.